nowhere, just in the night, I had this clarity. Like from here on out, I was going to have to fend for myself.
If you like this movie, this was probably the part where you got more invested in the whodunit after Ransom drops this line. But if you were a knitter like me, this is the part where you lost all interest because you finally got the big reveal you had anticipated, which is a full look at this cable knit sweater. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you'll know I'm working on a series where I recreate iconic knitwear pieces from movies. So far in this series, we've completed Anne Hathaway's Andy Cerulean sweater look from Devil Wears Prada, which had some cables and was actually kind of easy to make. And we also did Adam Driver's ski sweater look from House of Gucci, which had a whole lot more cables and was quite complicated to make. With that experience behind me though, I figured it was time to tackle the motherlode of cable knit sweaters, which is Chris Evans' Ransom Knives Out look. When this movie came out in 2019, the sweater quickly became considered the holy grail of cable knitting among knitters, with the designer even recreating a graded pattern for multiple sizes completely for free, and it's very popular on Ravelry. More on that later as to why I didn't use this pattern. The internet naturally also exploded with consumers and fans alike looking for a similar sweater for their wardrobe, and all of this excitement is for a good reason. The sweater is not only a classic look with its cream color and cables, the cables themselves are many and thereby eye-catching, and there's a handful of subtle details that I'll mention later that make this even more of a showstopper. Cable knit sweaters are also ideal for actors and filmmakers because by nature, a cable knit sweater naturally fits better around most body types from what I've been researching, and it makes them ideal for costume designers having to work with multiple body types, and they also pop on camera, especially when knit in bright or light colors, making them ideal for filmmakers. So with all that in mind, I decided that I too wanted to recreate this signature look, and fun fact, I actually have seen this movie, unlike the previous two videos I've done, but I didn't like it, just so you know. I am, however, a glutton for cable knit sweaters and a glutton for punishment because, as you'll see coming up, designing this sweater was no easy task. I also set myself the challenge of timing myself as I made this sweater to see just how long it takes to both design and knit a cable knit sweater with this much detail. So I set 2 timers, one for the entire process and one for just the knitting. One would do if she was following an already pre-made knitting pattern like any sane knitter would do. So if you're interested in watching me fail and discovering how many hours it took me, let's roll that intro and dive into this bad boy of a sweater. Trust me, it about broke me. Hey, I'm Morgan. I'm a grade school teacher and an aspiring author, and I also really love to knit. So this channel is a fun outlet that lets me combine my passions of teaching and storytelling to hopefully inspire others with their own knitting. As a storyteller and avid knitter, I really love it when a movie showcases some really cool knitwear with perhaps a small story behind them. So on this channel, you'll often find me designing knitwear from popular movies, researching how they were created, and I occasionally dabble into historical patterns too. At some point, I might even share some of my other creative projects such as my writing and crocheting, but whatever you find here, I hope it'll be something that inspires you as a maker. Thanks for being here, and let's spend some time together. When I design a sweater based off a photo or a movie, I always like to start with researching as much information as possible about the piece I'm mimicking. This, of course, includes any information and all images I can find that can help me figure out the stitch patterns. I like to make rough sketches that I can refer to later, even though I'm no artist, as you can see. And I also go ahead and write everything down before I even start swatching. I like to look at stitch patterns, when to start increasing or decreasing, etc. And this way I can refer back to this later when I'm knitting, or if I forget and I simply don't want to have to look at my phone. I also like to figure out what material the original garment was made from. This is because different fibers behave differently and give different stitch definitions. Video of me opening this. There. There, okay. So even if I'm not going to use the exact fiber of the original design, I can try and replace it with something similar. In this case, for example, I believe based on the little bit I found that Chris Evans' sweater was made of wool. I think it's like a blend of cashmere with a tiny bit of cotton, but I'm knitting this sweater from one of my sisters who wanted this to be very soft and easily washable. So I'm knitting mine with acrylic yarn, which is a good substitute for wool or cashmere because they behave similarly in stitch definition, whereas cotton would not. I'm not always lucky finding information about costume design processes of knitwear and movies because I guess no one really cares about those, but I did find a little more information than normal for the Chris Evans sweater, probably because the internet blew up about this whole sweater. What I found interesting about it is that the costume designer Jenny Egan purchased this sweater brand new and purposefully tore and stretched it in certain places to demonstrate Ransom's frivolous lifestyle. The sweater was made out of cashmere. Again, Egan hoped that the tears and holes in such a quality sweater would kind of be a breadcrumb to the viewer of Ransom's scoundrel nature. Now, I'm definitely not tearing any holes in the sweater whatsoever, but as both a knitter and an aspiring author, I like how Egan put some thought in showing Ransom's personality through his sweater. Let me show you what I just spent the last 3 hours of my life.
Of my life. Of my life.
Of my life doing. This is my swatch to figure out the center trellis pattern on the sweater. This is the pattern that you typically see like on the Moby sweater, and it's a very close contender, as you can probably tell by the pictures, but it doesn't curve enough. It's not a circle, it's too much like a diamond. So I did another alteration, making them smaller, not so big of the gaps, but it still was not correct. It's still forming a diamond, not a circle. I had a gut feeling I knew which one was the correct one, but I decided to, for some reason, waste time and see if it was other ones. I just let it be known that I actually did know what it was. I don't know. Thought I could try something else. I went back with my gut feeling, which was the lattice cable, which as you can see, it's closer because it's a circle. It is the right pattern, it's just the knits are too thick, so they have to be 1 stitch rather than 2. And that's where this one came in here. So it is the lattice cable, just a 1 stitch rather than 2 stitch. And then up here is where I was just practicing the Celtic braid, the Celtic braid throughout, which you'll see on the shoulders and repeating. And then this part is just where I was calculating my gauge for the knit stitches. So however many stitches I got in an inch, I got 6 stitches per inch. That's how I calculated my gauge, or how many stitches I need to cast on, and I'll explain that a little bit later as well. Moral of the story is, if you've been doing cables for any period of time, go with your gut and don't waste 3 hours. So what my task is to do now is to get the stitch pattern to fit on my particular width of 1x1 rib. As you can see from the photo, the original pattern, that's how many stitch patterns I need across. But mine, being made of a thinner yarn, is going to be shorter in width. So I have off to the side here a total of how many stitches each pattern takes up. So the lattice stitch is 36 stitches. 1 Celtic braid is 24 stitches. And then the twist and the left twist are 4 stitches each. Now I actually need 2 Celtic braids at least, so 24 plus 24, that's 48. So what I'm gonna start doing is I'm going to take away the stitch patterns that I need from my total stitch count, right? I'm trying to figure out how many pattern repeats to have across, as well as how many stitches I can have for my purl stitches. Okay, Editing Morgan here. I don't think I described clearly how I'm calculating how many stitches I need in this part. I know I include this in every video I've made so far, but I like to show this because I found it the most confusing when I first started self-drafting my own pattern, so I always want to showcase it for anyone who might be struggling too. Basically, at this point in my project, I knew I would need 126 stitches to get my desired width. If you want to see how I even figured out that step, check out my video on Andy's cerulean sweater because I explained that there. So each cable pattern takes up a specific number of stitches. If I want my sweater to look like Ransom's in the film, I need to multiply the number of stitches in each cable pattern by as many times the cable is repeated in the sweater. Since I'm using a thicker yarn than the original design as already mentioned, I multiplied by 2. That tells me how many stitches total will be used only for the cable design. I then subtract that number from my total number of stitches, and that answer then tells me how many stitches I have left for purl stitches, which are necessary to separate the cable patterns from each other. So you see on the calculator, I have 10 stitches left for my purl. So I probably don't have enough to do multiple repeats. I only have enough to do 1 repeat. So jumping in real quick, I realized I forgot my slip stitch. This is why I go back and check my diagram. So my slip stitch is going to be 3 with a total of 2 because there's one on either side of the trellis, so 2 in total. 3 stitches plus 3 stitches, that's 6. So minus 6 from there, I have 4. So you see I'm gonna have to do some finagling with my pattern to get all this to work across because I obviously need more than 4 purl stitches. So I'm gonna do the math and I'll come back and let you know what I end up with. So what I'm gonna try is when I did the math and I worked out over here how many purls. This is my diagram for the back and the front because it's both the same. In pencil, I wrote how many purl stitches I think I would need in between the pattern repeats. So then I calculated how many purl stitches I added back to my original, which means I needed to add a total of 6 stitches to my original count, which is 126. So 126 plus 6 is 132. I can do math. I did that with a calculator, although I did go back and double check. Anyway, so all that did when I did the math, 132 stitches means my panel will be 22 inches across rather than 21 inches. So flat, I added a total of 1 inch to the body. When it's in a circumference, that'll be an additional 2 inches, which I don't think is going to be a big deal for my sister. I'll double check when I try it on her, but she did want this to be slightly oversized, so I think this will be a good fit. It's just 2 inches more, so I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. Famous last words. Well, later that night, I ran into more trouble with the stitch count of the different cables that I had figured out in the footage you just saw not matching the original number of stitches I had cast on for the ribbing. I finally admitted to myself that I needed to stop trying to make what I'd already knit work and just completely start over and redo the math. It was annoying for sure, but definitely worked out better in the end. Sort of. Just keep watching. You'll see what I mean. Yes, I feel like shouting, I got it, like the random guy in the crowd on Brave. Just because this took so long just to get to this part. It took forever. I'll quit with the random movie lines here, but there's one thing you should know about me. I'm a movie quoter. Just to keep that in mind. So I'll try to not quote them too many times throughout this. however long this process takes. And I'm just glad we can finally get to this part, because from here, knock on wood, it should be kind of smooth sailing, because I just gotta do the pattern now. So far this evening of knitting. I think I like it. Yeah, I think it's looking pretty close. Looks pretty good. The only thing I'm not too happy about is I've been figuring out this lattice, single lattice stitch as I've gone along. The ones with the smaller holes is closer to the picture, I believe, the original image, rather than these longer ones, which looks more like what you see on the Moby sweater. So I'm trying to avoid those. Made some notes and rewritten what I got for these smaller ones, which is again what I'm thinking is correct. So this, as of right now, without counting any of the mistakes I made, okay, so none of the ripping back and none of the calculating, nothing, just straight knitting as if I just picked up the pattern and went for it. This segment, this has taken me 5.2 hours. Just this. So yeah, keep it posted. Let's keep knitting for another 0.2 hours or something. I apparently don't know how to close this segment very well. This is what we have so far. Starting from here is where I think I finally got the lattice stitch to look closer to the picture, which I'll put up somewhere on here. Here you can see this is me struggling to figure it out. And then this is where, I kind of put it together. So this is the back. This is why I didn't bother ripping all this out. I'm gonna be honest, when I'm doing the back, I let it kind of beef a little bit, but this is where I can fudge it. If I had messed up so much, I would have taken it out. But since it's literally right here towards the bottom, it's gonna be on the back. No one will be looking at that, and if they are looking that far below, they have a problem. But yeah, so this is what we have so far. I don't have that much further to go, but I do have a little bit. To avoid some monotony, I'm just going to go ahead and, with the magic of video editing, skip to the part where I've knit long enough on this piece till I need to start shaping for the shoulders, and I'll show you what I'm going to do there. When it comes to shoulder shaping, I always follow the blog post by Jill Wilcott's on how to create shoulder shaping, the math, and all the things you need to know on how to do it with short rows. It is a very invaluable resource. I have it bookmarked on my phone so I can reference it all the time, and I will link it in the description box below, because if you like short rows and you want to figure out how to design them in your own sweaters or add them to patterns that already exist but they don't have short rows in the written instructions, you definitely need her blog post. It's great. So we're outside to grab what little light remains, but I have officially finished the back of the Chris Evans Knives Out sweater. I am pretty pleased, if I say so myself. So now we'll just slowly and steadily knit the front. pop up on the side of the screen about how many hours I've knit so far. I haven't checked yet, but I'm thinking it's over 24. Let's see how well I overestimated or underestimated that on the screen. Nearly 1 month of knitting later, I was able to do the shoulder shaping for the front. Once again, I returned to Jill Wilcott's blog post, but this setup is a little different because I first have to bind off stitches in the center of the piece to make room for the neck. On the back portion, I could simply shape the neck piece with short rows, but for a good fit overall, it's better, in my experience anyway, to bind off stitches on the front so the collar won't rise up and kind of have a choking feeling. I also compared images of the original sweater to see where the neckline curves started to get a rough idea of how many stitches to bind off. From what I could tell, the neckline curve starts a couple stitches before the Saxon braid on the original sweater, but because I'm using a thicker weight yarn, I need to start decreasing through the neck at the right and left cable twist to achieve a similar look. Okay, Houston, we have a problem. Sorry for the fan noise, by the way. It's hot. Anyway, if you have any good eyes, you see exactly what this problem is. This has frustrated me so badly that this project has been in timeout for literally a week. If anyone knows any more what I'm referencing, but the Madagascar Christmas when the old lady says you're in a big timeout.
This is all your fault! Beto! You are on a big timeout!
That's my level of anger with this. I don't know how I did this. Okay, well, I do. I'm human, okay? That's the only explanation I have. My sister gave me a sweater, as I showed earlier. Hold on, I'll show you again. Okay, so this sweater, my sister let me borrow so I could get an idea of the fit, so I wouldn't have to, find her and, schedule her fittings and all that thing. So, anyway, what I realized I did, I knit this back piece first before she gave me the sweater to use as a reference. And it just so happened that, what we originally decided for the measurements was the exact measurements of this, except for the length. I'd already knit the length of this before I knit this part. So instead of checking my measurements on my notes for this piece before I did this piece, okay, to make sure they're the same length, I measured my front piece up against this sweater. I just laid it out somehow thinking that I knit the back exactly like this, which I did not. Okay. I'm gonna measure this, which I've already done. It's roughly 2 inches. And know that this, basically, I need to keep knitting until I'm roughly 2 inches less than this shoulder shaping. I don't know if that made that much sense. Basically, I need to rip out this part, knit it until it's 2 inches before I start the shoulder shaping on this. This time, it'll be right. This project's already taken me way longer than I wanted. It's okay. It's okay. think it might rain, but I'm under shelter and we're just gonna enjoy making a pattern in the outdoors. Okay, so with the front and back panels out of the way, we can get started on the sleeves. Based on the images I've found, it looks like that the sleeves are pretty much the same repeats as the sweater, so that should be kind of easy. Famous last words, as I have learned throughout this entire project. The time, I gotta go do a quartet practice this evening, so the next thing you'll probably see is me in my living room working on this with the bad lighting as usual, but that's my life. So, and of course, is if nothing else goes wrong. Let's hope not. I just have this bad feeling that something's not right with this. So because I continually had a bad feeling about that, I went ahead and wet blocked the piece just to see if it would fit. That was the bad feeling I was having like a Jedi as I was working on this. I wet blocked it, I let it dry overnight, and then I threw it in the dryer in the morning just because it was still a little bit damp. And I'm really glad I did this because, as you'll see coming up, something very much wasn't right. Okay, so I'm glad I blocked this last night because I have something to show you. Let me put you up on the table and show you what I mean. So if you got a good eye, you might can already tell what's happening over here, but basically when I blocked this for my sister, this softened a lot, by the way. I'm very impressed with how soft this acrylic got. It's super soft now after I washed it, and I even threw it in the dryer to quickly dry, but anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I blocked it and it's still not as wide as my sister wanted. I think upon talking with her, what occurred was there was some trouble with the sizing issue, obviously. So she gave me a sweater and there was some confusion about which sweater I should use as the model for her size. And it ended up being just slightly smaller than she wanted. It fits, it actually looks great on her if I'm gonna put it on. But she's envisioning like a really, really oversized, comfy sweater. She was totally fine with me leaving it as it was. She didn't ask me to redo it. But as a knitter, as someone who spends so much time making these projects for people, I want it to be something they're actually going to enjoy. I know my sister would still wear it a lot and she would enjoy it, but I know it wouldn't be as enjoyable and she wouldn't wear it as much if I left it as it is. So I'm gonna fix it before I do the sleeves. So we're technically not done with the body. However, I'm not about to rip all of this out. So what I have done, as you can see, is I'm doing kind of like what you would do for a double knitted button band on a cardigan, where I picked up stitches. You don't need to see that, fly sweater. I picked up stitches all along the edge here, and I'm knitting the matching cable pattern that would naturally have gone in here if I had made it wider. Does that make sense? And I'm joining as I go. Excuse me, Miss Honeybee. I don't want to hurt you because you're a honeybee, but you're in my shot. So can you kindly go on? This is my show. Go on, go on, go on, get, okay. Anyway, so I'm using the, like I would attach to, you know, a double knit button band, right? Where I slip stitch to the stitch here and I go back and forth. It's actually working out pretty well. I'm optimistic that it'll go a little bit faster than what I've had anticipated, since it's just one cable repeat on this small area. I mean, when I looked at my timer last night, this whole thing only took me 15 minutes. Let's just go see how much we can get done. Now, I already have been asked why I went through all this headache when I could have used the free pattern for the same sweater that I already showed you. Well, full disclosure, at the time I started the sweater, I didn't know that pattern existed. However, even if I had, I wouldn't have chosen to knit it. It's nothing against the designer or her pattern. I think it's wonderful she provides that. I love how much I learn when I design my own garments. 80% of what I knit, if not more, are my own designs, and that's not to be prideful or show off or anything. Rather, I kind of want to share my excitement with you about this process, which is one reason I'm even sharing this video. I learned so much about shaping, stitch choices, knitting math, decisions, and thinking outside the box to troubleshoot. I also can curate the pattern to match my personal preferences or my personal taste. For example, the pattern on Ravelry, I believe, uses a Saxon braid rather than a Celtic braid and uses the Moby sweater lattice stitch rather than the lattice cable that I chose. And I personally think mine looks closer to the pattern, but of course that could just be my own personal preference. Also, when I'm self-drafting, I learn so much about patience, lots and lots of patience, and fortitude. And then I have an appreciation for anything handmade, not just my own, because I know all the hard work that goes into it. I definitely recommend you give self-drafting a try for the sake of what you learned about knitting in general, if for nothing else. I'm curious to know, is there a part of this project where you would have stopped? Is there a design choice I made you would have changed? Or is there an alternative method of fixing my mistakes that you would have chosen? Let me know in the comments because I love hearing from y'all and learning from other knitters' experiences. So here it is in all of its knives out glory, and I'm pleased to report that my sister is very excited with the way this turned out. Are you ready for the reveal on how many hours this took me? Remember, I set 2 timers. One timer was to track how long this sweater took me without mistakes or designing. So the idea of that is how long would it have taken me as a knitter who possibly bought this pattern and was following pre-written instructions. The other timer tracked every single moment this sweater took, from redesigning, frogging, ripping back, the math, and so on and so forth. So here's the final results. Timer number 1 for how long this would have taken me if I had followed pre-written instructions, 90 hours and 8 minutes. Timer number 2 for how long this entire process took me from start to finish, drum roll please, 113 hours and 22 minutes. Yeah, honestly, I was a bit surprised by that one because I thought for sure it would be no more than 100 hours, all things considered, and I guess I definitely underestimate how long it takes me to knit things. Of course, these aren't the most accurate time signatures because there were a few instances where I may have completely forgotten to set the stopwatch, but it's close enough to give us an idea. But what did you guess? Did you think this would have taken me longer or shorter? Is there anything I did to correct my mistakes that you would have done differently? And if so, what would they be? Or would you have potentially thrown in the towel on the sweater after a certain point? Let me know all the things in the comments because I love carrying conversations with you guys down there. I don't see this as a one-way street. Rather, I want my videos to be inspiration for your own knitting journey and a spark of a conversation with you below. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with me today. And thank you also to my returning viewers. I know it takes me a very long time to publish videos, so I very much appreciate that you keep coming back despite the longer wait. Given the nature of my content, I can't publish weekly videos like many knitting podcasts, but I will try to get more consistent in the future. That's my plan. So if you like this type of content, I definitely recommend subscribing, as it does take me a hot minute to design and knit projects, apparently over 100 hours, and then edit hours of footage. So subscribing is the best way to see when I publish another video. Plus, up next, I have plans to do that very popular and trending sweater right now called the Project Hail Mary cardigan. But of course, I'm putting my very unique twist to it. So if you want to see what I'm coming up with and how I'm designing this pattern from scratch myself, please subscribe so I can see you next time. Well, that's all for me in this one. Until the next time, take care and God bless.